you guys once again at Mr. O.G.B. You are highly welcome. We are going to be paying attention to something very important to every one of us today. And today we are going across the continent to look at. It's working, huh? Hope you can hear me very clear, right? Yeah, so today we are going to look at something very important. I want to say welcome. Thank you for giving us your time. As usual, as you know us here, we used to look at issues, address them, and at the end, finally, we will tell you our own perspective, very positive perspective, in fact. And our first agenda today is we are going to start from Nigeria, and from Nigeria, we go across the continent. And we are going to look at something very interesting. The recent former president of Nigeria, by name President Mohammed Buhari, was a military head of state, and he was again elected as the executive president of Nigerian state. Now, we have someone in the government now who is completely civilian. He has never served in the military, right? By name Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president of Nigeria. And today we are going to look at something we titled Buhari is more Democrat than Tinubu. And we are going to give you reasons why we said such. And our number 2 topic is going to be Peter Obi Atiku and Malam El-Rufai. They cannot, I repeat, defeat Tinubu in 2027. That is our perspective here. And we are going to also give you reasons why we believe so. And again, we are going to look at something we titled opposition parties are gone in Nigeria. So we are going to give you as well reasons why we believe in all these things we're saying here. And as we move forward, we are going to look at across the continent, the country Haiti. Haiti is not a poor country, but has a corrupt leaders. And we are going to give you fact why we believe in all these things. Why do we make such comment? Why do we say that even Tinubu is not Democrat enough? And why do we say that Peter Obi Atiku and Malam El-Rufai cannot defeat Tinubu? People in their caliber, why do we believe such? And also, we are going to look at Gaza annunciation threat from Israel. All these things are very important to humanity, and I think it is better we look into it and perhaps through our own perspective. And believe you me, there will be something to learn from it. Thank you for giving us your time. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, so today, as we continue, we are going to look at Buhari is more Democrat than Tinubu. Why do we say that? I mean, why do we believe that Buhari, a former head of state under military rule and a general who served in the soldier, is more Democrat than Tinubu, who has never served in the military, who has been civilian all his life, who is assumed to be one of those who clamored for democracy in Nigeria, And here we are saying that a former head of state, a military head of state, an army general is more Democrat than a real civilian. Why and where and what are the reasons that made us to believe such? Here are the reasons. Number 1, when Buhari was the executive president of Nigeria, we know what happened. Buhari ruled Nigeria as executive president, elected for good 8 years. And after Buhari, Tinubu took over. And when Buhari was the president of Nigeria, we should not forget, for any reason, that the Nyesom Wike, the current Federal Capital Territory minister, is the governor of Rivers State. And Amechi was also the former governor of Rivers State. Amechi was also a minister to Buhari administration. And when Wike was there, he had almost the same issue. In fact, the same issue is having today with the current governor called Fubara. And something happened. We are looking at the way these two scenarios happened and how the government was able to handle both of them. Because Buhari is the president, Amechi is a minister in his administration, and today Tinubu is president, and Wike is a minister in his administration. So if you look at it, you see that the power that Amechi had then is the same power that Wike had today. Maybe their ministerial position might not be the same, but these guys are ministers, right? But when Amechi was having issue with Wike, Buhari didn't throw 100% weight in support of Amechi. Does it mean that he didn't like Amechi or what? Now, Amechi was a member and among the founding father of APC that brought Buhari to power. Now, Wike was in opposition party, PDP. Then PDP was a bit alive. And today, Tinubu is a president from the ruling party APC. And Fubara and perhaps Wike, they are from the opposition party, though we know Wike is a double standard man. No one knows where he belongs. That is an agent, we know that for sure. There is no argument on that. He's an agent of APC, working from both sides to achieve the goal of APC. But here is the fact. How was it easy for Buhari to manage the situation then, but more difficult or impossible for Tinubu to manage the situation today and make sure that peace return to Rivers State? The reality is this: Tinubu is not a Democrat. We've got to look at his lines and his actions since he became the president. The first thing Tinubu did as a president of the country is to announce that oil subsidy is gone. Does it mean that we don't support oil subsidy to go? We do. But in the manner in which the president announced it is what everybody is looking at and complaining about. Announcing subsidy is gone without a proper plan. You didn't have conversation with any of your inner caucus. You just feel that you can do everything on your own. And perhaps you did it actually. But here we are today. You devaluated the currency. The currency has no more value. Right? Everybody is suffering, including your own families, including the Agbado members. Those inner caucus who supported you, everybody is now in chaos, suffering financially. Now, Buhari was able to manage it to make sure that the crisis didn't escalate, to make sure that Amechi do not go beyond overboard, that Amechi do not go to the extent that will cause any casualty or cause any threat to the democracy nor to the economy. But Tinubu and Amechi, they have the same character and the same lifestyle. Buhari has never been in control of any state in the north, but we know what Tinubu is doing to Lagos State. And now Amechi took over. Wike, his close ally, we know what he wants to do in Rivers State. Let me be very clear here. We are not in support of Fubara, neither are we in support of Wike, but we are in support of the people. Whenever things is happening, I just have to look at the things and see who is likely to be affected. And if you can believe me, none of these people will be affected. The people that will be affected are the locals, the poor. You see, the poor people, they are the ones likely to be affected. And that's why we speak up whenever necessary. Because If we don't do it, it means that the people are going to suffer. You know, the people are going to suffer, and that won't be helpful to the society. So, what we are trying to let Nigerians to understand is that having calculated the character of Tinubu and also that of Buhari, we've come to conclude that Buhari is more Democrat than Tinubu. And our reason is very simple. Amechi was a minister to Buhari government, and he had the same issue that Wike is having with Fubara today. And today, Wike is a minister to Tinubu's government, and Tinubu has been unable to manage the situation in Rivers State. But he went ahead to declare the state of emergency in Rivers State, which is highly condemnable. Not just that he announced the state of emergency, but he removed the governor, removed the deputy governor, and he removed even the state assembly. And to remind you, there was a case in the court, to the Supreme Court for that matter, and the Supreme Court ruled on what should happen. And Fubara honored the court decision. He did everything that court asked him to do. But you know what these guys did? They removed him. And I've seen some people trying to defend the character of Tinubu. Anyway, we know that every party member will always try to defend their parties. That's why I do not believe in party thing. I believe in independence. Because once you are a party member, actually your voice, you have lost your voice, you know. Yeah, so that's why we believe that Buhari is more Democrat than Tinubu. And you can do your own research and find out more according to our analysis and our reasons. Maybe you will see what we've seen. And again, we've heard that Peter B, Atiku, and Malam Erofile, they are doing everything possible to replace Tinubu in 2027. We are still in 2025 anyway, but 2027 is right at the corner, and every politics got to start now and start as soon as possible. They realized it and they are doing it. And do not forget, Malam Erofile, Atiku Abubakar, these men, they are among the founding fathers of APC, which is the ruling party today, which is where the current president comes from, Ahmed Tinubu. And these men are saying that they want to replace, I mean, they are condemning the character of Tinubu, and they are doing everything possible to their own knowledge to make sure that Tinubu will not be re-elected. And we are asking a question, how realistic is it? You know, I had a conversation with a very good friend of mine, and a guy who is a very educated guy, Mr. Franklin from United Kingdom, you know, and we looked into these characters. I wanted actually to invite him, but it wasn't possible because he is a bit busy now. So yeah, we've got to do that in the nearest future, you know. Yeah, hopefully, I believe that. So now I had a conversation with Mr. Franklin, and he made something very clear to me. He told me that his fear is that there is no more opposition in the country, and Nigeria has become one party system, which is very clear, which is not doubtable. You cannot doubt what everybody can see. You cannot hide what you cannot hide, because it's very clear to you and I that Nigeria has gone to be one party system, and the commander now, being Ahmed Tinubu, in my opinion, is not democratic enough to allow opposition to exist. And we know that in Nigeria, rule of law is just what they use to threaten the poor, not actually that it is existing anyway. Yeah, so now P2B, Atiku Abubakar, and Madam Erofile, they are claiming that they are doing everything possible to replace Tinubu. And in my own opinion, I've said that it is impossible. And I will give you reasons why I believe it is impossible. We have seen Tinubu proposed a lot of things to the National Assembly, And you see that same Mr. P2B and Atiku Abubakar and Malam Erofai condemning the proposal of Mr. President, being Ahmed Tinubu. And at the end of the day, you will see that every party, both the opposition, both those that come from PDP, that is under the control of Atiku Abubakar, and those that come from Labour Party under the control of P2B, and perhaps those that come from SDP, where Malam El-Rufai is now, and those that come from Malam El-Rufai's constituency, they will vote in favor of the president's plan and president's agenda. Very good example is this latest removal of the Fubara government in Rivers State and his deputy and the State House of Assembly in Rivers State. We've not seen any opposition member who voted against it. It was only the senator who came from Rivers State, the former governor of Rivers State. He is the only person who stood as a man and challenged it. I heard also there was another person, just one person who actually tried to support the senator from Bayelsa State. But that didn't change anything, because where there is 109 people and only 2 people are standing up, it's not going to work. And mind you, I say, mind you, if the opposition stood against the president, they would have restored the government of Fubara. But it is very clear that opposition cannot work. So why we believe that P2B, Atiku, and Malam El-Rufai cannot do Tinubu anything is that if they cannot even get one person from their party to support their agenda, it means that they have lost the control of everything. It means that they do not have the capacity. And I want to remind you something. Remember, during the petition, after the 2023 election, there was petition by the opposition, making a lot of claims. But one of the major claims was about Tinubu's certificate and his who is Tinubu, because Nigerians don't even know who is Tinubu. That's very unfair that you don't even know your president, right? Now, I think one of the judgments says that an outsider cannot sue Tinubu in these scenarios. Only party members can do that. But there was not a single APC that was able to sue Tinubu. Why? Because the oppositions, they are very weak. They do not have the capacity. They do not have the strength. And they cannot gather the momentum from the other side to support their agenda. In fact, it seems like Tinubu is like a godfather to the whole nation. Because if you look at his agenda, unchallenged, everything he's doing, he doesn't even mind what anybody will say. I will give you an example. Like when Tinubu dissolved the government of Fubara, he didn't wait for the assemblies to vote before he appoint the sole administrator. That is just unbelievable. That is, he is 100% sure that nobody, I mean nobody, is going to work against his government. We have senators, we have assembly members, there are about 300 and something, I guess. And the senators, I think they are about 109. But out of 109, I think only 2 people was able to oppose Tinubu's agenda, or one person. So if you look at what the man is doing, it's very clear that overconfidence, they worry him. He got confidence that nobody can challenge his agenda because he got away with everything he wants to do. It doesn't matter your opinion. It doesn't matter what you think. Tinubu get away with all his plans. Now we are going to, so that's why we strongly believe that Atiku, P2B, and Malam El-Rufai, they do not have the capacity, because Tinubu knows the game better than they do. Even in the North, no one can stand up against him in the North. That's very, very, very unfair. we want oppositions back. Now, we also argued that opposition is gone in Nigeria. And here our argument. Opposition is gone because there is no evidence of existence of opposition in the assembly, in the senate, or even anywhere, even in the state level. Everybody is dancing to the tune of Mr. President bin Bola Ahmed Tinubu. All of the oppositions are dancing to his tune. You know, we've never seen any opposition who stood on his ground and said, Mr. President, I disagree with this your opinion. None of them. If that cannot happen, how can the country move forward? And I will tell you guys why we need opposition back. Opposition, a country without opposition is gone. Any organization being a public organization, it doesn't mean private. Private is individual thing. You can run it to the best of your knowledge. If you're failing, you know you are failing alone, because those you hired can actually go leave you and go to find their daily bread elsewhere. But when you talk about government here being a public stuff that belongs to you, belongs to me, and belongs to all of us, right? You've got to know that we need opposition. Opposition are not that these people hate the country, not at all. But opposition are that I have different perspective how things should be done, and you claim that you too have a different perspective. Now, if I am the ruling government or whatever it is, and if I am not getting it right, it is the duty of the opposition to alert the public, to let the people know, because these oppositions are members of the assembly and members of the Senate, and perhaps some of them close to the executive, the judiciary, you know. So they have inner information than you and I. So if they know when things are going wrong and none of them is voicing out, believe you me, before you and I, the masses will know, things will get worse. And it might not be controllable. Now, the benefit of the opposition in every country is that the opposition helps the economy to grow, and the opposition helps to check and balance the ruling power. Without the opposition, you cannot check and balance the ruling power. You cannot check and balance the government. In fact, you cannot in any way question the government actions. It is the opposition that will give the masses the strength and the support necessary to do what is right. The opposition now will become the original voice of the people. You know, do you know in the United States of America, the Republican Party won in the presidency, they won in the Senate, they won in the National Assembly, you know, and now if I've seen many Americans saying that what they want is not, like, people have argued, is there going to be a time again in American history that the Democrats will come back to power? And many people have been saying, yes, it is going to be, and it is very necessary that it happen. Why? Because if you allow a one-party system in any country, it's not healthy, and that country cannot grow, and that country cannot prosper as much as necessary. Because once it is one-party system, it means the president has become a king. The president can actually do whatever he likes to do. A king is owner of the entire property in the country. He can do whatsoever he wants to do, and no power can question or challenge him, because he is like a god to the country. So, but in a democratic system, if there is no opposition, it means that that country is not democratic enough. Right? Yeah. But am I calling for people to vote for Democrats? The current Democrats, I do not think that it is necessary for anybody to vote for them until they change their character. Yeah. So yeah, we are going to look at something very important. In fact, to a lot of people around the world, We got a news that Gaza announcement threat from Israel. Israel is planning or threatening to announce some part of Gaza to become Israeli territory. And we've got to remember that Israel have ruled Gaza from 1960, or some part of Gaza from 1967, I think, until recently, maybe 2005 or thereabout, that Israel pulled out of Gaza and gave all the lands to the Gazans, the companies that were there, the whole houses that were there. They left it for the Gazans. But what happened? Actually, what Hamas did to those economic benefit left over by Israelis is that Hamas turned it to terrorist center. They began to build tunnels to attack Israel. They began to do a lot of things against the state of Israel until October 7, 2023, they finally carried out a massive terrorist attack against the state of Israel that took over hundreds of lives, over thousands of lives of Israeli people, and kidnapped over 200, kidnapped as many as possible. And we know that since October 7, there has been bombardment between the Hamas terrorists and the Israeli government. Recently, since Donald Trump took over office as the president of the United States of America, there has been progress in peace. Hamas have returned as many hostages as possible. Israelis in return have released as many Hamas terrorist group held in Israel prison. Israel have actually released many of them, which is not to the good interest of Israel, but due to that Israel need their people back, they have no option but to do that. Now, Hamas is under pressure to release the remaining hostages. And Hamas also is trying to prove stubborn, like always, and also act in a manner that is not acceptable, arguing that they cannot release those hostages, like rejecting a lot of proposal from Israeli government, rejecting a lot of proposal from American government, and from other people. And Israel have threatened that if Hamas failed to do it, that they will push forward to take more part of Gaza. And when they do that, they are going to announce it as part of Israel. Now, does Israel have the military capacity to do that? The truth is this: Hamas is nowhere near the strength of Israel. But Israel has been more democratic. Israel has been kind. Israel has been consideration. Israel has been fair in all dealings against Hamas because of the innocent Gazans. Because you cannot, Israel does not believe that all Gazans are Hamas. No, not at all. Israel doesn't believe that. But Israel believes that a lot of Gazans are in support of Hamas activity against Israeli citizens. And I don't think that any well-meaning leader in any part of the world will actually sit back to see a terrorist group threatening to unalive your people. In fact, beyond threat, they have carried a lot of actions against you and your people, and you will still fold your hands like this to look at them. Honestly, you've got to react in defense of yourself and your people, your family, the unborn children. Yeah. So Israel has been acting in defensive way and also trying to bring their loved ones home, which, in my opinion, should be supported by every well-meaning person. And we should not forget as well that in every war, once there is a war, there is one thing in mind. Why everybody is fighting to win is not actually to be seen as a winner, but for one reason. And what is that reason? To have the right to write history. And whenever you see a war happen, once you defeat the opponent, you determine what happens in that land, and you can never even take over the land. I will give you an example. Look at what is happening between Ukraine and Russia today. The argument is no longer if Ukraine want to belong to the NATO, which has been denied, NATO has rejected that idea. But the argument now is, can Russia leave the territory they have captured? Russia is telling you that is impossible. The territory we have captured belongs to us, belongs to Russians, right? And we can also go on and on and on in a lot of places. How was even the Arabs, how was they able to capture Jerusalem, Israel, which is now known as Palestinian? You know, Israelis have been there for years, thousands of years, but through conflict, through conflict, the Arabs defeated the Jews and they took over Israel. They drive them out and they scattered them around the world until the Israelis now gained strength enough in 1967, in 1940 rather, and 45, and they were able to return back to their homeland. Originally, we know that Jesus Christ is a Jew. We know that King Solomon is a Jew. We know that King David is a Jew. And where did King David rule? Israel. Where did King Solomon rule? Israel. Who was Jesus? A Jew. Born in where? Israel. So Israel has been there before the so-called Palestinians. So Palestinians are as a result of conquering. When they conquered the Jews, they took over the land, and that is how they come to be. So now Israelis too have conquered Gaza, and they are threatening to seize some part of it. You know, we will see how it goes, but we just pray that peace return to that part of the world, because peace is what we seek. And again, I want to speak on a very important topic. You know, this is very important to me because it seems like many people do not understand it. And you can see my color. I am a black guy. I am a black person. So what I'm going to say is not condemning anybody, be you black in America, in the UK, in Asia, in Africa, in Australia, in any part of the world. I'm not insulting you. But if honesty is an insult to you, then I think you need to examine your head. Number one, Haiti is not a poor country, but has a corrupt politicians, just like every other African state around the world. I want you to look at something. Look at all the African states around the world, as rich as Nigeria, as rich as South Africa. Now, let's use South Africa as case scenarios here, because it is a very perfect and good example. Now, you know when the whites were ruling South Africa, and we call them, oh, they are racist, oh, they are this, oh, they are that. And you know how prosperous they were. And now, I want you to calculate something. When the colonial masters left Africa, those early years when they left Africa, within 10, 20 years that Africans got their independence, every state in Africa got their independence. You know, I want you to look at your own country as a black person, or take 2 or 3 black states as example, as case scenario, and you are going to get the answer I am going to mention now. If you look at Nigeria, for example, when they took power from the colonial masters, within 10, 20 years, Nigeria was very prosperous. But after that 10, 20 years, you see that the economy began to go down. The way of life began to diminish. The country began to sink deep into poverty and into collapse of economy. Now, South Africa, look, when the whites were ruling South Africa was one of the best countries in the world. But look at the South African today. South Africa is among one of the worst countries in the world today when you talk about security and way of life. Now, look at Nigeria. I want you to study the economy of Nigeria from 1960, 1970, and 1980. Everything became dust and no plan, no direction from 1990 up to date. Now, again, look at Ghana economy. When Ghana first got her independence, look at how the economy was growing. And look at the economy of Ghana today and compare both and tell me, were they prosperous yesterday or today? And ask yourself why. Now also look at Cameroon. Look at Kenya. Look at Rwanda. Look at all these countries. Rwanda I mean Uganda, not Rwanda. Rwanda is doing great. I hail my namesake Paul Kagame. He's a good man. He's doing great things. Now, look at these other countries, and you see that they were better off yesterday than today, which is a curse, not a blessing, right? Now, and I want you to see why I said black people seems like they need their heads to be examined. Individually, examine yourself to see that your brain is functioning well. I am one of you. I cannot condemn myself. But when I look around, look at Haiti, for example, 1918 somethings, even early 19s, Haiti was doing fantastic great. Like Haiti was one of the superpower in the world, even though that we know the history of Haiti. But do you know that then Haiti colonized their neighbor Dominican Republic? This might be a shock to you because you've never searched information to know more. Haiti colonized Dominican Republic, but today Dominican Republic is far, far, far better than Haiti in economy, in way of life, in everything to think about. Does it mean because of the earthquake that happened, it happened in Haiti? Not at all. The earthquake happened in Haiti and the world rallied around them. They donated billions of dollars in support of Haiti to rebuild herself. Now, go to Haiti. There is no evidence of those billions. There is no physical evidence of those billions. What happened to that money? That's why I have argued, and I will continue to argue, that this country is not poor, but the leaders are corrupt. And that is why it is very easy for you to see someone who will just stand up and call himself a fighter, gather boys, give them gun, and they will do his dirty job for him, like barbecue and the rest of them. Why is it possible for barbecue to be able to recruit people? It is very possible for him to do that because everybody is seeing that the government is heavily, highly corrupt. Because everybody, we are all reading newspaper every day. We are all watching news every day. Every day, we know how many billions America has given to Haiti. USAID, we know how many billions they have given to Haiti. We know how many billions Canada have given to Haiti. We know how many billions European Union has given to Haiti. We know how many billions UN has given to Haiti. But nothing can be seen. They couldn't fix anything for the people. Not even a clean water. Talk more of health. Nothing is working. And if you look at all the rest of African states, they are the same character, the same people, behaving in the same manner. I am not angry, but I am just very disappointed in my people. I'm very, 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 very disappointed in their character. That's why you see me like if I'm screaming. I am not screaming, but if you look at these scenarios, you will be confused. What is the meaning of this? How can we get this right? Look at all the black states around the world. You see that there is no difference between them and the character of political leaders. In Haiti, they are all the same people. So I think these guys need to examine their head and know what is actually wrong with them, know where they've got it wrong and where they need to fix it. Our founding fathers, for example, Haiti started in a good spirit, a very strong and mighty spirit. But now, those spirits are no longer there. What we have today is corrupt and a very wrong mentality. If you look at Nigeria, the same thing. If you look at South Africa, the same thing. If you look at Uganda, the same thing. If you look at Congo, the same thing. You look at Cameroon, the same thing. Look at Ghana, the same thing. You look at Liberia, the same. All these people are one people, one character, unprofitable character, and the character that does not even remember tomorrow, but over selfish. If you look at Nigeria, for example, individuals, Nigerians are very prosperous and very kind people, but I do not know what is happening to their leaders. If you look at Haiti as well, they are doing well in everything. South Africa, Ghana, Rwanda, the same thing. But if you look at the leadership in those countries, you will be asking yourself, were these people that are making these countries proud overseas, were they trained in that same country? If they were trained in that same country, what is wrong with the leadership there? I don't know if you have asked yourself such a question, but I do ask myself such a question on a daily basis because I search, I read, I watch, I see things, and I want things to be better in order for the poor masses to have a life, for them to have a future. You know, yeah. So this is what we have for you today, and perhaps we will be back again when maybe tomorrow by this time we will be here to update you on the latest information in the town. Hopefully we are going to come with a better positive information, because these people, they are not doing anything possible to support us, but we will do everything possible to support those that need to be supported, at least by giving you the right and the necessary information that you need to know. Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank our good friend who has been here for long. Who is this iPhone? I don't know you, but I want to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying until now. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And I want to speak once again to my Black communities around the world. Haiti, we are very proud of you. But now I don't understand what is happening in the politics. If you look at Haiti from the beginning, like as I've said before, these countries were doing great. Haiti colonized the Dominican Republic. Sorry to use the word colonized, but Haiti was in control of Dominican territory for years. But today, Dominican Republic is doing far better than Haiti. That is not acceptable. And if you look at also Nigeria, the moment that the colonizers left Nigeria, Nigeria economy was very good in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s. But since 90s, the Nigeria economy has become like trash. If you look at Ghana, you see that the early days were better than today. If you look at South Africa, you will understand that when the whites were in power, the government was good, the economy was good. And if you look at 10 years after the white left the power, the economy was still good. But if you look at maybe 10 years ago, you will understand that, oh, everything is messed up. What is the problem? What is the problem? My brothers, please, take it easy. Understand that for you to be rich, you've got to empower the nation. Once your country is rich, you are rich. You cannot see American citizens going to countries to do anyhow job. You cannot see even as common as Indonesian citizens going to any country to do anyhow job. But to go to anywhere around the world, you see Black people, African people doing acceptable and unacceptable job in order to be able to feed. This is unfair. It's not acceptable. That's why we keep saying what we are saying. That's why we keep saying what we are saying.